Jayson Tatum goes down and does not get back up. LeBron and Luka go your turn, my turn, and then the Lakers lose badly again. Jimmy Butler is okay with being the bad guy. And Anthony Davis, he just wants to hoop, man. That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories every day with the help of Locked On's local experts. And with me are two of Locked On's premier national NBA experts. From the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network, he's our man of 1,000 podcasts. It's Matt Moore. And Matt, on this day in 1967, the Philadelphia 76ers defeated the Cincinnati Royals 112-94 in the NBA Eastern Division semifinals for a 3-1 series win, which goes to prove that there was a time when March pro basketball meant something.
Nicely done. Very good, Doug. That works, actually. There was a time using defunct franchises or ones that now have been relocated to Sacramento. Cincinnati Royals became the Kansas City Kings and then the Sacramento Kings. So very interesting kind of history of that franchise. By the way, I had a great time in a March basketball game last night. Bulls Nuggets. Dale and Terry Hive, baby. Dale and Terry Hive. Jalen Smiths. Love Sticks. Hayes, you got yourself a squad.
Heater.
Yeah, they're on a heater, man. It's good to talk about good Bulls basketball, and it's legitimately good basketball. I've really enjoyed watching the team play.
Well, speaking of Bulls basketball, Hayes, did you know on this same day, the St. Louis Hawks defeated the Chicago Bulls in 1967, 119-106 in the NBA Western Division semifinals for a 3-0 series win. The leader of that team, do you know? The 1967 Bulls.
No, I'm not even going to fake like I do. No, I have no idea.
It was a spry 24-year-old Jerry Sloan. How about that?
Oh, wow. Jerry's legend.
For the Hawks, one of my favorite names in NBA history, Zelmo Betty. Zelmo Betty was third in minutes on that team alongside Bill Bridges and the legend Lenny Wilkins for that St. Louis Hawks team.
Okay, let's move to a team in the present. They're winning like they were in the 60s, but they're certainly playing a different brand of basketball. The Boston Celtics got some bad news. Jayson Tatum injured his ankle in the third quarter of a Celtics win over the Sacramento Kings last night when he landed on Domantas Sabonis' foot after a three-point attempt. Sabonis was given a flagrant one foul. Tatum had to be helped off the floor and missed the rest of the game. Let's get the latest from John Karalis of Locked On Celtics.
Tatum was great in this game before he got hurt. He was on his way to a triple-double. He was on his way to a very similar 30.9 rebound, 9 assist night as he had in Utah. Again, Tatum, total control of the game. This is the best basketball Tatum has played, which is why the injury is kind of upsetting, because you're like, I hope he can continue this role when he comes back, and you hope he's not out too long. But again, he really can take off the rest of the regular season for all we care. He was apparently in the locker room, no boot. He left the arena, according to Adam Himmelsbach of the Globe. Left the arena, no crutches, no boots, no cane, no nothing. Just him and his shoes and the slightest of limps.
Just his shoe. That made it sound like Jayson Tatum left the arena naked after getting injured. Concern for a long-term absence seems to be minimal. But if this does linger or gets re-injured or bothers him in any way in the postseason that brings down his statistics, what's the impact on the Celtics' chances of repeating, Matt?
Still insanely high. So the trick here is, if I say that the Celtics can win without Jayson Tatum, it's taken as an indication that Tatum isn't good enough to be necessary. And the answer is that Jayson Tatum is awesome and he's not necessary, because the Celtics win with math. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. You do any sort of deep analysis on this team, and that's what you're going to come up with. You're going to be like, yeah, they just kill teams because they make more threes than the opponent, and they don't let you make a lot of them. Like, it's not about dynamic basketball. It's not about like any sort of pick and roll action that teams can't defend. It's just like, yeah, they're going to find ways to make you help, and then they're going to hit lots of open threes. And you can do that without Jayson Tatum. Now, Jayson Tatum is the best player on the Celtics, and he's awesome, and I think he's had an MVP ballot-worthy season. He's been great. But they don't need him. They just don't, especially not until the Cavalier series. Can they win the finals without Jayson Tatum? Okay, maybe not. Maybe you need that kind of a performance, because Tatum stepped up big time over the years, like that Game 7 versus Philly with a 50 bomb. Like, he's had some absolutely massive games. He's a great playoff performer, and he doesn't get enough credit for being that good in the playoffs this young. But Hayes, like, no, like, they can beat the Magic without Jayson Tatum. They can beat the Hawks without Jayson Tatum. They can beat the Indiana Pacers, honestly, without Jayson Tatum, as long as they make their threes. Like, they're not hiding this, Hayes. Like, they're very transparent about who they are. They win with math.
Yeah, I mean, and that's also why you have Brown there. Like you trust your depth, you trust your coaching. You're a very well coached team that execute the areas of basketball that need to be executed well. And look at your next two opponents. At least you got Phoenix, you got San Antonio. I know Phoenix has been playing a lot better basketball. You want to take nobody lightly, but luckily the Celtics have built in a nice buffer there. Like, we're headed towards the end of the season. He'll be fine. And overall, like to Matt's point, you want to make sure that he's fully healthy and ready to go by the Eastern Conference Finals. Not to say that he can sit out that whole time, but you have enough to where you can still make it through the East. With a Jayson Tatum that may have to rest here and there. I'm not mad at it. I'm not too worried about that for the Celtics.
Hayes, I want to make sure I'm not going too far here, because I do think that it's like, okay, regular season is whatever. This is March, but
right.
Playoffs with the Orlando, like, say they face the Magic in round 1, right? I do think I need to probably think about this a little bit differently, which is, yeah, they create all these threes, but they create all these threes because of the pressure that Jayson Tatum creates in isolation, and Brown hasn't been as good. So, like, maybe that's a counter argument here. Maybe I'm not giving Tatum enough credit for being the force that forces the help to create those open threes, because I'm kind of like, just let Tatum score. Like, as long as you don't allow the three, you're fine. But without Tatum, they might struggle in that. And so that's probably something to watch if this were to reach into the playoffs, which it looks like a high ankle sprain. I think he's back in 3 weeks. I think he's going to be back in the regular season, but that's maybe something to consider.
I mean, plus they're not going to be facing the Magic in the playoffs. It'll be the Chicago Bulls. So there you go.
Oh, prediction time already. Oh my goodness. We're not even in April. Well, the Celtics certainly hope they don't face the version of the Magic that handled the Lakers last night, 118-106. It was a game dominated by star pairings, LeBron and Luka on one side, Franz and Paolo on the other. The Lakers are healthy. They're together again, but Locked On Lakers says after that game, they're playing anything but together.
Easy buckets for the Magic. But what really disturbs me and what makes me concerned, the flow of the offense, the easy shots that were created between LeBron and Austin and Luka, obviously, what they were creating for the group has completely disappeared. You know, this game in Orlando on Monday night was a series of isolation possessions that sometimes result into a kick out on the perimeter. But while the Lakers took a lot of threes, the quality of those threes were way down. And most of the time they were isoing, maybe looking for fouls, very little ball movement, virtually no player movement.
Lots of talk after this game from guys like Austin Reeves and others about bad offense leading to bad defense. Is that your read on this game, Hayes, and their general issues since LeBron's return? What's causing this, and how concerned are you about the Lakers?
I mean, I know I've said it a lot, and I don't mean to crap on Lakers. Like, I don't mean it that way. It's just that I'm not concerned about whatever happens with the Lakers this year, mainly just because of I don't view this season as an end-all, be-all, make-or-break season for the Lakers. This is more of a blueprint season. You're laying out what you think you can do so you can go out and find players that kind of better fit the system. Now, as far as the Lakers and their issues, yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, the offense isn't always the best. It's not, the most creative. The defense comes and goes at times as well. We know that when they were on their stretch, they were playing very good defense, but I do think that defense is a little shaky there. But I'm just not worried about the Lakers. Like, this whole thing, this experiment between Luka and LeBron has been really fun to watch them kind of figure it out. Luka dropped 32 points last night, which is really good to see from Luka. They're going to be a fun team. They're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. But it's just overall, with the way that I view this team is about what happens next after this season. So I'm not concerned about it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo a lot of what Hayes said and co-sign on all that. But one thing I will say, you know how you go on roller coasters and everyone kind of, when you think about it, it's like just the ups and downs. But you know how there's those like hard left and hard right turns? That's what I feel like I'm on with the Lakers, where it's like, oh, they're going to be bad on defense. Oh, nope, they're one of the best defenses in the league. Oh, okay, they're one of the best defenses in the league. Oh, nope, now they suck again. And I'm trying to not overreact to these things because over the last 8 games, they have a 123 defensive rating with Luka Doncic on the floor. They are getting cooked with Luka on the court. So when Locked On Lakers talks about this, they had a 115 offensive rating. Pretty good, right? When you go back and you watch that game, though, one of the things that you see happening is because they were not getting a bucket every time, they can't set the defensive shell to protect their absolutely wretched perimeter defense with Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves on the floor. Franz Wagner, just every single time that he had Luka Doncic, it was time to cook. Like, he just got out those knives. It was grill master time. Had the apron on, kissed the chef, and he was just cooking it up. And Luka provides zero resistance. None. Lakers fans want to talk about, like, well, actually, Luka's been pretty good on defense. He was good for about 5 days. And now it's back to what we know from him. And you have to cover for him so much that if your defense is not set and your rotations are not perfect, you wind up getting flambéed. There's also a level to this that this is what I don't know. I don't know how much of this is March variance, and forget March, regular season variance, and how much of this is, teams got tape on them. They've scouted them. They actually have figured out, like, so they're doing this with the switch and providing help here. Let's move Dorian Finney-Smith up on the floor with who he's defending, and that's going to open our back line. Like, how much of this is understanding and getting film on the Lakers to be able to counter this versus the magic that JJ Redick was able to put together in the first 2 weeks after the trade?
And that was a point that the Kamenetsky brothers made on that episode of Locked On Lakers. They really dug deep on the issues. So if you're interested, go check that episode out. And the question is, the one that the Kamenetsky brothers posed is, how are they going to make the adjustment to the adjustment? And I wonder if we're going to see a little bit of that as we close the season, or if JJ Redick is hiding that on his whiteboard in preparation for a first-round series. We'll have to wait and see. Coming up on the Locked On NBA podcast tonight, huge matchup between the Warriors and the Heat. Lots of storylines, including Jimmy Butler playing his old team, and he had a lot to say, and I want to know what Matt and Hayes think about all the things that he has to say. That's coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's so easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center with all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so that you can go beyond just managing your money and start building your wealth. You might be surprised at how much you're spending on things like food delivery or streaming subscriptions. With Monarch, you're going to see exactly where your money's going so that you can budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, Monarch makes it easy to check your finances, track spending, and even plan for long-term goals, all in one place. And if you're managing money with a partner, it's never been smoother. You can track shared and your personal accounts, set goals together, and stay on the same page without all of the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. 50% off. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. All right, so the Warriors play the Heat tonight. Lots of storylines. The Warriors fighting for an outright playoff spot. Miami fighting for the right to make the postseason and keep all of their picks. Steph Curry may return after a pelvic bruise. Oh, yeah. And then there's this little thing here about Jimmy Butler playing his old team. Well, that's not a huge deal. Players move. They get traded all the time. Wait a minute. I'm being told he did what? He said what? Oh, okay. All right. Turns out this is a pretty big deal. We're going to dive into the drama in a moment. But first, I want to go to Locked On Heat's Wes Goldberg, who shared his thoughts on if Jimmy Butler on the floor is different or better now that he's with Golden State.
That Jimmy Butler's playing better or different. I just think he's in a situation that is better for him basketball-wise at the age that he's at. He's still a number 2 option, and his numbers are basically the same. He's playing the same way. I've even had people, Warriors fans text me and being like, has Jimmy always been this deferential? Like, has he always been this not aggressive kind of player for long swaths of a game and then kind of picked his spots? I'm like, that's literally everything that he's been doing. Yeah. For the last 5 years, it just looks a lot better when you have a real number 1 option next to you in Steph Curry. And I know he's questionable for Tuesday night, but whatever. But like, for the most part, it just looks different when he's got that number 1 option. And the Heat, they failed at finding that number 1 option. They definitely deserve blame for that. Nobody's saying that they don't, but I don't know. This idea that Jimmy Butler is just all of a sudden better in Golden State, I push back against that. He's certainly better in Golden State than what he was when he was not trying for the last month in Miami, but for the most part, he's basically been the same player.
All right, Hayes, agree or disagree with Wes's analysis there?
Yes and no. Like, I guess if you're trying to make a broad comparison, he's the same in a way, but like it's still different. Like, he's getting to the free throw line at a crazy rate. He's picking his spots better because he has better players to play off of as well. And I think it's just a more seamless fit. Like, you needed Jimmy Butler to absolutely go nuclear at times, like especially in the playoffs for you to go far. I don't think it's the same in that way. Like, I think we're seeing a Jimmy Butler right now that is understanding it's not all on him, but when it needs to be, he can still go into that old Jimmy Butler mode. That's the way I look at it.
He's a good player, limited by age, being enabled by better talent around him. I think Jimmy's impact here and the Warriors' success, it's in part a little bit of a mirage, but it's also, I think, a real condemnation of the Heat talent. I don't like doing that because I think Bam Adebayo is phenomenal, but like you put Jimmy where he doesn't have to be the guy, and look at what's happening when you are playing at that kind of level. And honestly, like Tyler, you can't expect Tyler to be Steph Curry. You can't even expect Tyler to be as good as Draymond Green, but Bam Adebayo should be on the level of where Steph Curry and Draymond Green are at this point in their careers. And the gap is so wide that Butler was not really. Now, some of this is also like Butler was dogging it. Like, let's be real. Like, he was dogging it. And he's been banged up and all those types of things. He's healthy right now. We'll see if that continues. I will continue to kind of quietly shout this, like whisper shout this, that a lot of the numbers are basically saying that the Warriors have been great because of the other guys on the roster and the overall roster, that it hasn't, like, it feels narratively like it's like, like the Lakers, where it was like, it's LeBron and Luka. And it's like, well, actually the defense has been like the best in the league for 2 months. And with the Warriors, it's like, it's LeBron, it's Jimmy and Steph and Draymond. And it's like, well, actually it's like the other guys that are playing out of their minds right now. So we'll see kind of what happens, but I'm curious about this game. I'm very interested to see what happens tonight. I'm expecting a Heat win, or a Warriors win, rather, pretty comfortably. But I'm just a little curious about how this is going to go, because the narrative is a little bit ahead of the facts here, and even eye test for me when I go through it.
Well, and that was part of the story that the Warriors were telling when they won their first couple of games after the trade, that the Jimmy Butler trade instilled a belief in the entire team that lifted them up. So maybe if it's less Jimmy's play and more the play of others, maybe it does have a little something to do with Jimmy. Let us know what you think on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. Jimmy has certainly had a lot to say in the lead up to tonight's game. And because I like when my job is a little bit easier, I thought I would just read Matt and Hayes some quotes from a recent profile of Jimmy from Anthony Slater of The Athletic, and just stand back and let you guys react to it. In fact, I might just put you in the double box so that your cameras are a little bigger. We can see your faces as I read these quotes. All right, this first quote is on the difference between the Warriors organization and the Heat organization. Quote, "It's all about whatever you need. You would think that every organization is like that. Whatever you need to make you happy. to make you healthy and to make you go out there and compete at an extremely high level. You need your days off. You need the chef. You need the driver. You need to work out. You need the rest. You need your family to travel. How can we keep you happy? How can we get you everything you possibly need to be successful and help us get a banner and a trophy? Matt, what do you think?
I don't want to be this guy. These players deserve the best treatment because their bodies create the product. And spiritual and emotional wellness improves work outcomes. There's been a lot of research on that. And I don't want to simplify it. I can't help it but do the meme. That's what the money is for. That's what the money is for. Like, you can't sit there and be like, the Heat don't take care of you. Like, they take care of you by making it tough. You said that's what you wanted. You criticized the Sixers. You criticized the Wolves. You criticized the Bulls for being soft. And now all of a sudden it's like you want it to be like that. You want to be pampered. And like, they deserve it because they're so good at what they do. And so I go back and forth on this where I don't know how to like parse between this. But I think taking shots at the organization that gave you the only meaningful basketball of your career. The only meaningful basketball of your career.
Hey now. Come on.
I think is a bad look, and I think that I just think that it's all good now. Let's see how this looks in a year. Let's see where it is, because history says you're going to feel differently in a year. And if the Warriors decide that they're sick of going out of their way so much for you because you take and you take and you take, I want to see what happens.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't it come out afterwards that they were allowing him private flights, hotel rooms away from the team?
Yeah.
The Miami Heat did all this for him. So I get what you're saying, but let's not act, Jimmy, like they didn't pamper you as well when the team was on. You know what it is that the Miami Heat made a decision. They made a decision for the franchise that paying you $40+ million probably wasn't the best thing for the place that the team was in. I get it. It sucks. You move on. You're in a better situation now. You're in Golden State. You have vets there. You have a team, a great coach there. It's all good. But some of the, like, it can't be everyone else. And Jimmy, every time he leaves a team, it's the same thing. Either he's attacking the franchise or he's attacking the teammates, whatever else it is. At some point, Jimmy, if you're the alpha, if you're the big dog, like you like to say you are, you hold a responsibility in that as well.
Well, I think Hayes hits on the interesting thing there. I don't know that the problem was that the Heat wasn't giving Jimmy everything he needed like the Warriors. The problem is the Heat broke a little bit of their culture and they made some exceptions, and then the exceptions may have been expected at a certain point. I think that may be where some of the problems were.
I mean, I think a lot of it's just like what's reasonable, because I think it's reasonable to be like, I expect you to help me take care of my body so I can compete for you.
Right.
Okay. But when it's like the personal chef, right? Like they provide you the personal chef, I guess is what they're doing. It's like, I get it, man. But also like, this is, if this isn't an insult, like you pay people in your circle, they can pay someone to find a chef, and then like just take it. And not everything should be taken care of for you. Like not everything. Like be an adult. It's fine. Like I get it. The job is really hard and demanding. I understand that. Time is the most valuable resource for an NBA player. I get that. I just think it's a little extreme.
All right, coming up, I've got one more quote from Jimmy Butler, and it's even better. And we might get a Steph Curry return tonight. Last night, Anthony Davis made a somewhat surprising return to the Dallas Mavericks lineup, and they won. More on that coming up on Locked On NBA. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. One more quote here from the Anthony Slater athletic profile of Jimmy Butler. This is, I don't really think this second quote needs any preamble. Here's Butler. Quote, "I'm always painted as the bad guy. Everywhere I've been, I've always been the problem. I don't got nothing to say. I'm not mad at being the bad guy. It's all the way that everything is portrayed. Some people talk to the media, some people don't. I've never been one to tell my side of the story to almost anybody. Let everybody think that this is what happened, and we'll ride with it." Hayes, your thoughts on that comment?
He's never been one to tell his side of the story.
That's what he said.
We know most of the sides of the reason why we know the stories is because of you, Jimmy. Like, what? The Miami Heat were probably the first franchise that he's been to that things came out from the franchise afterwards. But even then, like, if you look at every stop he's been on, leaving the Chicago Bulls, he talked about them choosing Fred over him, Fred Hoiberg over him, things that happened with him and Derrick Rose, and Derrick Rose wasn't even talking about it. That came from Jimmy. The fact that, you know, in Minnesota, that practice that he took the bench player, like that all came from, it's all come from, take personal responsibility. Come on, man. You're too old to be dodging personal responsibility, brother.
He did the thing with the practice team and the Wolves, left the facility, immediately drove to his house, and did a sit-down interview with Rachel Nichols. What the are you talking about? Like, every spot has there's always these. You think the report about him dressing down Brett Brown in a film session, you think that came from Brett Brown? Is that what happened? Like, every single time. And it's like the reason you're portrayed as the bad guy is because you've been a pretty bad guy from a professional setting. Like, that's just the reality of it. I just, I don't tell any. Come on, man. God.
It's amazing. Okay, we're done with quotes. We're done with quotes on this show. Let's move back to the floor after a 6 week absence due to a left adductor strain. Anthony Davis returned to the Dallas Mavericks lineup last night, contributing 12 points in 27 minutes during their 120-101 victory over the Brooklyn Nets. This win marks the Mavericks' second consecutive victory. Let's send it over to Locked On Mavs for a rare podcast where they didn't end with existential dread.
Anthony Davis said this about why he wanted to return. I play basketball. This is what I get paid to do. Anytime I get a chance to come out and play, I'm going to do it. I seen where we were a man down forever, sometimes playing with 7 guys, 6, 8, and it felt like if I was 100% healthy to go play, I was going to go do that. I stressed that to my team. I stressed that to the organization as well. So tonight, we felt like I was able to play, and that's what I wanted to do. And I believe he can be the number 1 player on a championship team. It's got to be the right team built around him. But if that's going to be the Mavericks guy now, if it's going to be Anthony Davis's team now, then I think you need a mentality like this from your star player. And I respect it from Anthony Davis. I don't necessarily agree with it, and I kind of feel like the Mavericks felt the same way. The report that Tim McMahon said that there are people in the Mavericks organization that didn't really want him to play, and Anthony Davis did. They probably feel the same way. You know what? It's probably not in our best interest overall for you to do this, but if that's what you're going to do, we'd rather you have this mentality and want to play for these guys. He came back for them, and he came back because he could.
Matt, do you respect his decision? Do you buy his reasoning there for returning?
Yeah, I actually do. He took so much grief over the first, after the championship in 2020. He took so much grief over the next 2 years for his unavailability. And then he came into that 22-23 season and really was like you could tell, like he was battling through stuff to try and play. I think one of the things that gets kind of lost in this is injuries affect different players differently, and that's not like a character flaw. It is okay that injuries limit Anthony Davis more than they limit other guys. Like, that is not his fault. That is okay. You play to the best ability you can. You don't get to decide how your body responds to pain, discomfort, or injury. You don't get to decide those things. And so I do think Davis deserves a lot of credit here, especially for me. The part is, hey, him talking about my guys are out there shorthanded, having to do all this. I love that part of this about being like, I'm not leaving my guys hanging out there. That to me is really good leadership from Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I think this is the right decision as a player and a competitor. Like I love hearing what we heard from Anthony Davis on this. He should want to be out there. If he's healthy, able to play basketball, go out there and play basketball. I don't care how many games is left. It's not on the players to tank and make sure that they get a draft pick. That's on the franchise. So I think that Anthony coming back here shows tremendous leadership, especially at a time where we talk so often about players not playing when they can or questioning if they will, things like that. Anthony showed tons of leadership. And I hope this does turn into something that they can build off on next year, because that fan base deserves some good things for sure.
Is it ironic that just as the Phoenix Suns seem to be pulling it together on a 4-game winning streak, we'll talk about them more tomorrow, that AD might come back and knock them out of the play-in? That's crazy to me. They were just getting there.
It's close. I'm still hopeful for the Suns. I actually think that there's a possibility that the Suns might. I actually think that the Kings might slide. That to me is more of like the one. What if we get Mavericks and Suns and the Kings fall out? That to me is definitely on the table. One game in the loss column separates those 3 teams.
Very interesting. I want to talk more about two teams that we haven't talked a lot about over the past couple of weeks, the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks. I have a very interesting quote from head coach Doc Rivers, but I'm going to save it because I said no more quotes on this show, and I meant it. I lied. One more quote. This is from Cavs reserve center Tristan Thompson. He said, quote, "I call him White Blanket. White Blanket. You can't score on him." Do you know who he was referring to there with that quote?
I want it to be Dean Wade more than I've ever wanted anything else in my life.
It's Dean Wade.
Yes!
Congratulations.
Dean Wade.
All right, Hayes. One more trivia question about the 1967 Bulls. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You can relax. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including on YouTube. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Thank you to Matt. Thank you to Hayes for their expertise as always. Enjoy tonight's action. Be kind to each other. Listen to Locked On NBA Game Night. They will be recapping that game against between the Warriors and the Heat on this feed. We'll see you right back here tomorrow for more Locked On NBA.